Hello everyone, hope everyone's taking good care. In this video I have two more IEMs, budget IEMs, and it is fun trying out new pairs and seeing which one is the best. So I'll talk about these two, the Tripowin Piccolo and the Simgot EW100P. And then I'll compare it to two other IEMs in the budget category. And it's fun because I can recommend which IEM is the best around its price point, and if you should stay away from a particular pair or get another pair over something else. So let's start off with the Piccolo. Starting with the bass, so the Piccolo has a pretty good bass sound. It has a nice bit of a rumble to it. It's clean. It's not like Harman clean, but it's decent. So you get a good rumble whenever you listen to sub-bass focused tracks. And I'm pretty sure the driver in here is slightly larger than the EW100P. Let me check. So this is an 11 millimeter. And this one is a 10 millimeter, seems like. Yeah, so this one does have a slightly larger driver. And I do hear the bass better on the Piccolo. Just more rumbly, more textured. So yeah, I mean the bass is good. Not bad at all. But there are a few problems when we get into the upper mid-range and treble. So let's talk about the upper mid-range now. So the upper mid-range on the Piccolo was just okay, because voices sound a little husky, a little too thick, and it has some odd timbre going on in that region. So it's definitely not the most natural sounding or the most balanced sound. And another thing is the treble on this IEM is slightly metallic. It has like this grainy texture, a little too bright, not refined. So the treble and the mid-range on this IEM did not sound clean to me. It was a little too artificial sounding. And I picked this up within maybe 5 to 10 minutes of listening. It was very obvious. And then soundstage imaging, pretty average. And that's with a lot of IEMs under 100. They're all going to be average. So overall, if you want a bassy set, this is fine, but the mids and treble don't do it justice. So every time you listen to a vocal or like instruments, cymbals, has like this grainy texture, slightly thin and bright. So if they want to improve on this, make the treble emphasis around maybe 6 to 8K a little more. Reduce some peaks you might have in there. Get rid of some mid bass. Add some more sub bass. And this will be improved. So overall, if I had to rate this IEM out of 5 stars, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. Which is average. And then now let's talk about the Simgot EW100P. Now I'll compare it directly against the Tripowin. So the bass on the Simgot, it's definitely lacking a bit of texture and tactility. It almost sounds bass light. When you switch between these two on the same exact tracks, you will notice the Piccolo has a better bass response, which is more articulate, more rumbly. You hear the beat better in the track, where you're not really going to get the best bass sound out of this. And then moving up to the mid-range, this actually has a pretty decent mid-range tonality. It sounds much more natural than the Piccolo because there's no really any graininess or harsh textures or overly bright. The mid-range sounds pretty smooth on this. So any vocal you play through here, it's just going to sound a little more clearer, a little more engaging, not as rough, not as brittle as the Piccolo can. So for mid-range, this takes the win for sure. Just fantastic mid-range. One of the strong point about this IEM would be its mid-range performance. And then the treble, let's talk about the treble. So the treble on this is slightly rolled off. It doesn't have the best extension or that sense of refinement where it's well extended and smooth. This could be a little overly smooth sometimes. Lacks a bit of sparkle and air. Especially when you listen to voices like Taylor Swift, The Weeknd, pop, classical music, classically trained singers. You will notice that their voice doesn't come across that clearly, and my ears aren't getting that sense of air and extension that some other IEMs might have. And then soundstage and imaging, both of these, they're about average. Didn't blow me away. So pretty average in that department. Detail is also pretty similar. It's like average. Average detail, average soundstage and imaging. But I mean, these both cost under $50, so what more can you expect? So the EW100P, if I had to rate it out of 5 stars, I'll give it 3.8 out of 5. Oh, I did take a few points off because the mid still could be a little better and the treble could be a little more sparkling. So that's why I took a few points off. So 3 out of 5 and 3.8 out of 5. So I definitely go with the Simgot if you had to choose between the two. But now let's make some quick comparisons. We got the Tin Hi-Fi C3 and the Tingzu Wanner. So first, let's just talk about the C3. So the C3 sounds more natural to me than both of these other IEMs. The bass is just more present. It's rumbly. It has a really, really good texture. The mids are nice and warm, full-bodied, not fatiguing, not metallic. And the treble on the C3, maybe it could use a little bit of work. But this is still a pretty decent set, especially with the bass sound you're getting. In terms of bass quality, the Tin Hi-Fi C3 has the best bass sound out of the rest of these, hands down. It's just really authoritative, amazing lucidity. It's just really, really good, the bass on these. And then talking about the mid-range, which one does mid-range the best? That would be the Wanner. The Wanner simply has the most natural mid-range. And it just sounds the most realistic. And I said this previously, but the Wanner, in terms of the tonality, it reminds me of more expensive sets. So the Wanner's pretty good. And then treble, which one has the best treble extension? No surprise, Wanner is so better. With the Wanner, I'm just getting more air in my ears, more articulation in the voices. When I'm listening to instruments, this has a certain level of air that, quite frankly, all three of these other ones are slightly missing. So this sounds closest to the source, closest to the way the music was mixed or mastered. This is it. But if you want a more bass sound, you love bass, you want a warmer tilt, and you don't want too much treble, the C3 is a good option also. Pretty good set. And then the Simgot, it only does the mid-range well. It doesn't really have anything else going for it. It could use a little bit more treble extension, a little better bass texture, and it doesn't have the sense of bounce like a subwoofer. And then Piccolo, the bass is fine on it, but the mids and treble need some more refinements. So overall, if I had to rate or rank all of these from like the best to worst, I'm going with the Wanner in first place. Second place, I'll put probably the C3 because it does the bass exceptionally well and it just sounds natural. And then third place, I'll go with the Simgot. And then fourth place, I'll put the Piccolo in. So if you're on a budget and you haven't heard the Wanner, please check it out. It's an amazing IEM. And a lot of the stuff I've heard that's twice or 3 times more expensive than it, it doesn't even sound better than a $20 IEM. So check this out if you want a budget set. Really, really good. If you want more bass and you want a warm sound, smooth treble, not fatiguing, then the C3 is amazing. Sounds good. I actually enjoy it. It's not the most correct or neutral tune set, but it's pretty good. I like it. And then Simgot. So the Simgot and the Wanner cost about the same. And I think the Wanner sounds better. It's more polished in the mid-range. The treble's better. And the bass is slightly better on the Wanner. And then Piccolo, personally, I'd skip this one. Only the bass is good. It doesn't have any other redeeming qualities. So here we have it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thanks to Linsoul again for letting me review a few of these IEMs. I appreciate that. And have a nice rest of the day, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.